Hi, and welcome to this week's Bitrix24 Live. My name's Andy, and I'm the support manager here at Gold Partners Interface. You'll be able to see on the screen that we have an office in the US, an office in the UK, and in Dubai. And please do get in touch if you have any questions with regards to purchasing Bitrix, or whether you require support, or if you have generally any questions at all. And maybe if you want to have a one-on-one demonstration on Bitrix, then it's certainly something that we can assist with. So these sessions are every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and they essentially allow you to ask any questions that you wish. So do please put them in the box on YouTube. Whether you're using the cloud version of Bitrix or the on-premise, then essentially we can answer any questions that you may have on either of those versions. So today is going to be a little bit shorter. Bitrix do have a presentation at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, the Dubai release of some of the new features on Bitrix, so they will be presenting that in an hour's time. So today's session is only going to generally be around about 30 minutes, so do please get your questions in advance. So we have had a couple of questions come in already. And that just reminds me that if you do have any questions that come in through the week, please do drop us an email to live@interface.com or sales@interface.com as well. So like I say, we have had a couple already that have come in, and I will go through those now. So as I mentioned, we have the on-premise version on the screen, and we also have the cloud version. So I can switch between the two depending on what questions. But this one, just with regards to variables in business processes. So we've gone through, the question mentions that they've gone through parameters quite a lot in some of these sessions, but we're looking at variables and wondering if it would be best way to pass parameters from one parent workflow into a nested workflow by setting variables to the parameters of the main parent workflow. So certainly, so let's go into the CRM. I have set up an example just so I can show you. We use variables in a number of different ways. So if we go into the CRM permissions, let's go into the business processes and click into templates. And I've created two. We've got the parent workflow, and we've also got a sub workflow. So in this parent workflow, I've illustrated two ways of using variables essentially. So you can see here on the question it said an example. I've got a parent workflow that takes in username parameters, creates a work group. The nested workflow creates a task within that work group. So let's have a look. I've created some parameters. So go to template parameters up here and click on variables. And I've created two. So we've got responsible live user and we've got approval. And then we also have a couple of parameters in here. In fact, we've only got one in this one, project name. So this is the parent workflow. Now if I just go into our sub workflow, so you can see here we have a sub workflow example. And I've pretty much done what you wanted to do. So we've created a work group in the parent workflow. And then what we've done here is set a user variable. So we created a variable in here called responsible live user. And I've used the block here on the right hand side called set variables. So I've dragged that up from here and essentially dropped it on the arrow, and it's created this. So if I click into here, all we're doing is setting the variable. So we've got responsible live user equals Mark Hope 27. Now, the reason why I'm doing it this way is we can pass parameters through to a sub workflow, which I'll show you in a moment. So I've set this as a variable. So Mark Hope is now the variable responsible live user. And what we've done in the next step is use the run workflow. So we've dragged that here, and I've just renamed it run sub workflow. Now the main important part of having a sub workflow essentially is if we click into template parameters, then we click into parameters here. So I've created 3 parameters in my sub workflow. So I've got project name, workgroup ID, and responsible live user. So that's quite an important part. So we need these. And what we're going to do is we're going to pass from the parent to the sub workflow these 3 parameters. So if I click into here and then I click into the run sub workflow, first of all I have to put a lead ID because I'm in the lead workflows here. Entity is going to be a lead, element type is going to be a lead, and I've selected which process, sub process I want to. So I've selected Bitrix24 live sub workflow example, and what I've done here is, let's just delete this one, project name. I'm going to take that from the parameter that exists in this particular workflow. Workgroup ID, so we've created the workgroup in this parent workflow, and I'm going to pass the ID because this is going to be important when we're assigning the task to the workgroup that we create in here. So if I click on here, click on additional results, and you'll be able to see create new workgroup group ID. So we're going to add that there. And then finally, the parameter in the sub workflow responsible live user, we're going to use the variable that we set in the action block before. So we've got responsible live user. So that's essentially how you pass we've got passing a variable, passing an element that gets created in the parent workflow, and we're also passing a parameter that gets added at the start of running this workflow. So then if we go into here, come out of here, click into the task that we're creating, what we're doing here is, you can see, if I just delete this one, we can go into template parameters, responsible live user. So we're passing that from the parent to the sub. We can use that. We have template name, so task name. It's going to be the project name task. And then finally, if we scroll down, we can assign this task to the work group that got created in the parent workflow. So at social network group, click into the 3 dots and click into template parameters, and we can have workgroup ID. So that's essentially what would happen is going through, create the work group, set the user variable that we're going to use in the task in the sub workflow, pass those variables and parameters through to the sub workflow. It's going to create the task and assign it to the responsible person created in the parent, and then also assign it to the work group that was created in the parent. So that's how we set the variables that we're creating, and it's one way of setting them in there. The second way we use variables quite regularly is for the actual process itself. So after we've created a sub workflow, it's going to come back, and we have an approval variable with a type of yes and no. So what we do here, click into the gear icon, we've got approval equals no. And what's going to happen is we actually have a loop running here. So a loop can be found in constructions. So again, while loop is here. And what it's going to do, it's going to loop on the variable equals no. So we set it there to equals no. Then we come in here, variable value, approval equals no. So what that means is that we have an approval block here, and again this can be found in the task section in approve element. We could drag and drop that. And what it means is that it's going to send an approval to a specific person. If they approve it, it's going to update that variable, again using the set variable here. It's going to update that variable to yes. And what that will do, that will mean that it will come to the bottom here and drop out of that loop, because it's only looping on variable equals no. So when we update that variable to equal yes, it will drop out. If it's declined, so if this approve leave project is no, it'll send a notification to say it's been declined, but the variable will still be no. So we'll come back out here, and then it will loop back round to the start and do the approval loop again. So this time, if it's no again, it's going to loop back round, and then the third time, yeah, we'll approve it, and then it gets set as approved and drop out. So hopefully that explains how we can use variables in here. The second example is specifically the approval variable didn't exist until we created it, and it's something that we can use within the workflow. So hopefully that helps. Okay, we had some questions come in. Got a question. So we've got a question about return on investment. So that's actually we're going to be covering that quite a lot, I think, in the Bitrix webinar. It's coming at 11 a.m. Eastern. So we don't know fully. I understand that you need to place UTM values. Where do I get them? I think you actually set your own UTM values up, so it's not something I can assist with on this one. Yeah, I can understand how you can get lost. That's we'll be covering CRM and CRM marketing. If you ask any questions, if you've got any questions about CRM and CRM marketing, then please do ask. I won't just cover an overview of anything really, unless somebody asks specific questions. Yeah, so a lot of the like I said, the webinar is coming up at 11 a.m. Eastern, and it is covering the sales intelligence and some of the marketing, and also the e-commerce stores, I believe it's covering, and also some new features on the mobile app as well. So it's covering quite a lot. Did have one of the questions just about, it came in throughout the week, which with regards to having the Facebook marketing and including your actually having your CRM forms on the Facebook marketing. So in Bitrix, I think if we can jump into our cloud version, in Bitrix you may be well aware that you can create web forms. So click into CRM forms here, then you can essentially create a new form. And the forms generally are used on websites, and to generate those inquiries, you can create leads from them. But what you can also do with regards to, if we go into, I think it's in the CR contact center, we have the Facebook lead ads. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to select one of those CRM forms to be using on your lead campaigns in Facebook. So what that will mean is that you can use a form that you've generated inside Bitrix on a Facebook campaign. So you're not taking the user away from Facebook, but you're giving them the tool to fill in that will essentially create a lead in your system. So you've got a Facebook campaign, you've selected, let's just say Bitrix24 live booking, and that will be a form that's specifically for that Bitrix24 live booking. And then they will be able to fill it out, submit, and then that will create a lead inside Bitrix for you. So it's a really useful tool. I would say it's relatively new. Click into here, click into a form, and then you can connect. We haven't got it connected up on here. We can connect to Facebook. Then you'll choose the campaign. And what that will do is when you are in Facebook, in your ad center in Facebook, the form will be available for you to select. So it's essentially what this aspect does here is authenticate Facebook to allow access to the form that you've just granted access to. And then you will be able to use that form in a lead campaign. So it's something certainly that if you are familiar and you do use Facebook ads, then certainly connect to your Facebook and publish your forms to be using on your Facebook ads. So it's certainly something that you can be using. Just while we're in here, you can obviously integrate, I think we've covered this quite a lot, but you can obviously integrate Facebook in other methods as well. So we have ability to send private messages. So somebody goes in your Facebook business page, sends you a message, simply integrate this aspect again, connect Facebook up so we can connect. And what it will do is when somebody messages you on Facebook, it will come through the open channel widget on the right hand side here. So you can click onto here. And you can have a one-to-one conversation with that person from Facebook. So you don't have to leave Bitrix. They will remain on Facebook, and you can send those messages. And that's the same with Instagram as well. So Instagram is pretty similar. If somebody posts a comment on a post that you've posted on Instagram, then what you can do is it will come through the open channel widget on the right hand side. It will actually show you an image of the post that somebody's commented on, and then you can reply to that comment directly from inside Bitrix. So you don't have to leave Bitrix again in any shape or form. You can stay in here and interact with your customers on Instagram, and that's again very similar to Facebook clients as well. So again, you can stay in Bitrix and interact with those. I suppose it all depends on how active you are on the social networks. So obviously, if that's your main elements of your business, then everything's in one place, so you can really interact with how you want to with your customers from inside Bitrix. And then we have in here as well, we've covered telephony quite a lot in some of these sessions, and we've also got we can integrate live chat with your customers as well. So you put live chat on your website, people arrive on your website, you can start chatting, and then it will come through again, the open channel widget. And on each one of these elements as well, you do have the option to create a new lead in your CRM from each one of these. So it's quite important that the lead generation option is there for you if you want to be using these tools to be generating leads. And then you can work on the leads and qualify them through the series of steps that you set up from within Bitrix for that. So yeah, these are great tools to be able to generate generate leads from. And then I suppose if we just follow on, we've not got too many questions. I will probably come back to in next week's session just with regards to the return on investment on advertising, because I think we are going to learn a lot in the coming weeks on that aspect of it. But with regards to generating leads, it's just touching upon when the leads are inside Bitrix, we can actually see all the sources from where these leads have been generated. And that allows you to see not only what your most powerful lead generation tool is, like is it Facebook, is it coming from your website inquiry forms, is it coming from the Bitrix24 sites? I will go into that in a moment because I did have a question about that. But it allows you to essentially see what the lead generating tools are, so you can report on those. So we can create our own sources, or we can have the automatically generated ones such as CRM form, Facebook form. And one question I did have, I suppose I will cover it now because it is quite useful, is that what we wanted, this comes through as complete. So when somebody completes this particular form, what they wanted they didn't want the name of this lead to be called this. So let's just copy. They wanted it, once that lead comes in, it says complete CRM form, survey form. So it's not ideal what it's actually called. But what we can do is we can actually run a process. So if I click on to more and click into settings and then click into automation and business processes. And then what we're going to do is going to add a business process on a lead. And we're going to trigger this when a new lead gets added. And we'll just call update lead name. Click on save. And what we can do is simply click on constructions, click in condition, click in the gear icon of the left branch, and what we'll do is survey form. And condition type, if we select element field, so this allows us to select any field that exists inside the lead. We could say lead name equals, and then we'll paste that so you can see update name if survey form, so the leads come from the survey form. And then what we'll do is, if it's not, so we can just leave it as true. And what we can do on the left hand side, if we just close this, click into document processing, and then modify element. So that allows us to modify the lead. So click on that and drag and drop. Click on the little cog icon, lead name, and we can say, and you can call it what you want. So you could call it survey form. So what that will do is give it a name in here, update. It just makes it tidier. I suppose if you've got a lot of forms and they're coming in from they're coming in from a whole range of different titles, then you can actually neaten it up and tidy it up. And if you wanted to, you could do it this block. But if I click into here and click into source maybe, then we could update the source to be a particular. It would automatically say CRM form, but if you wanted it to be called something else, then you could select that in there too. So that will then allow us to update the form. So let's see if I can find that survey form here. Let's see if it works. Survey form, if I just open that link in another tab. We don't have to call it, we could call it the survey answer or whatever click on send. So if we go into here, click into leads, and then if we scroll down, there we go. So 5 seconds ago, you can now see that the title of the form is title of the lead is survey form, rather than having complete CRM form from survey form. So it just tidies it up a little bit. You could maybe call it whatever answer they gave, and if you wanted to do that, then you would just have to use, instead of typing in survey form, you could pull a field from the actual lead itself. So that could be quite a handy tool. So if we went back into here, let's just show you. If you do have any questions, like I say, this is a shorter session this week, just with regards to the Bitrix webinar coming up in 30 minutes. So we're going to have just over 5 minutes left. So please do ask any questions. But if we go back to our business process and just go into the templates one we just created and update lead name. If you wanted it to be called, instead of having it called survey form, we could actually use any of the fields that exist within inside a lead anyway. So I think survey answer one, that's essentially all you would need to do. So you could just select any field that exists inside the lead, and that's what it would be called. So there's all these things you can do. So like I say, these we're in the business automation and business process section. So this is the business processes that can be triggered when a new lead gets created, when a new lead gets edited, or you can manually run these processes when we are inside a lead. So if we clicked into here click into the workflow icon, then we can run these as well if you wanted to just do it manually. Go, where could I find the business process you mentioned? So you just, like I say, you just need to go into CRM settings. I think you do, if you would need a paid version, you would need one of the commercial versions. Click into automation and you go into business process. The one that I make won't be possible because I've just made it, so I just made it on the fly there. But this is being recorded, so I'd just probably follow one. It will get published to YouTube pretty much. I think it will be within the hour. It'll get published live on YouTube, and then you can follow it. So yeah, it should be quite straightforward. But the good thing about it is, like I say, you can trigger these on new leads being created, and it's not just the lead name you can change. You can update responsible. You can do quite a lot of things. And if you've got the on-premise, then you can go a little step further. We've developed business processes that equally distribute leads amongst sales agents within a particular department. So it'll go through a chain. It'll lead responsible person 1, 2, 3, 4. Once 4's done, it'll drop back to 1. It will also check if they're in the office or out of the office well. So you've got the business processes under automation, and then we've covered the automation in leads and deals based on the lead status and the lead stages as well. So you've got these as well. And if you did want to use some of the methods that we have a look at, so like for example the modify element, there isn't actually a rule in the automation rules that says update, I don't believe at the moment. We can change status and things like that. But we can't actually, I don't believe, if we edit document, oh yeah, maybe we can. So select field, yeah, so we can update them here as well. So we could say update lead name to equal, and then we can do exactly the same here. So if we look at survey answer, survey form, click on save, and then if we move that to the first, so when a lead gets created, it always starts on the new status, and we could use this and go update lead name. And one of the good things with these as well is if we click on change, and then we have a condition, so we could say if lead name equals, I don't know if I focus about that. So exactly the same, if lead name equals complete CRM form, survey form, click on select, that will essentially do exactly the same thing, but it will be triggered on a status rather than every time a lead gets created. So we could actually move that to update the lead name when a marketing has been initiated. So there's things you can do such as that. So edit document, it's not too clear, but I suppose edit document is editing the lead that you're actually in. And there's quite a lot of things, like, and again, we've covered quite a lot of these in these sessions before. So you can see here what we have. So like I said, I've got a couple of minutes left. I don't know if anybody does have any other questions. We do have these sessions every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. They are generally an hour long. Like I say, this is only short because in 30 minutes Bitrix have a big webinar coming up. So it's about the new features getting released onto Bitrix. This release is called the Dubai release, and we'll be able to see some of the new features being introduced. So no other questions have come through at the moment. So like I say, if you are interested in Bitrix or you're using it and have any questions, those are our contact details on the screen at the moment. We can have one-to-one demos. We can demo to via an online screen share to your team if you need to make sure that Bitrix is right for you, whether it's you've got questions on the on-premise or the cloud, or you're interested in upgrading or need somebody to install the on-premise, then we can do all that. We do offer premium support as well, so telephone and ticketing, we offer that as well. So yeah, I don't think any more questions have come through, but yes, do stick around. Like I say, Bitrix will be going live in around about 30 minutes time, so do stick around for that. So until next time, bye for now.